since Brendan is on that side, you should kick it out, Brendan.
Well, welcome back to the Markout Movie Podcast. I am Brandon Spivey.
And I am Aaron Whitlow.
And on today's episode, we are reviewing Chosen Season 1. But before we do that, Aaron, what do we usually do? Starting this off? See, I shouldn't start anything. It's terrible.
Aaron Whitlow, Brandon Spivey. We are the Markout Movie Podcasters. On today's episode, we are looking at Chosen Season 1. We're kicking off our Easter theme episodes. I wanted to kick it off with Chosen. I wanted Brandon to see it. I've always said that I've yet to see, Brandon knows that I don't really care for a lot of, and I'm a Christian. Let me just first say that I am a Christian. I'm a believer. I just think that a lot of our stuff that is not really produced well. And so it kind of gets me out of it. But Dallas Jenkins, who is the producer, director, I think producer and showrunner for The Chosen, I think he's done an excellent job with making a really good looking Bible-based Christian series. And we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Chosen, Season 1. Easter-themed episodes, he says.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we usually do what we've watched. Did you watch anything yet?
Yeah, so I will say this. Let me go ahead and click on what we watched, and I'll tell you what we watched. Well, what I watched. So I did see. Last week I mentioned Shazam. That I watched Shazam.
No, I did. You hadn't watched it yet.
Okay,
you watched it this weekend, right?
I watched it this past weekend. I thought it was fun as far as it was fun for what it was. It just, I'm like you, Brandon. I don't know where James Gunn is going to do with the DC universe, and so I'm like, and then the Easter egg, I was like, it's pointless.
I can tell you what he's going to do until Superman. He's going to blame Dwayne Johnson. Because that's how everybody's doing, is blaming him. They're blaming him because he didn't allow a post-credit scene. It has nothing to do with your box office results. People didn't go see this. Not because he wasn't in the movie. It's ignorant. Oh, I got into it with somebody the other day about it. It's like they just want to blame Dwayne. He's the scapegoat.
Yeah. For those just tuning in, we will be talking about The Chosen. Right now, we're talking about what we watched, talking about what we've seen throughout the week. Just to hang in with us. But yeah, they're blaming him. They're blaming The Rock, Dwayne, and he's gonna catch a lot of the flack until James Gunn's DC universe shapes up.
If
it does. Now I did finish The New Girl, so I started a journey in watching The New Girl. And I finished that. It was 7 seasons long, and I thought it ended pretty good. It never, to me, got a moment where it just kind of lulled. There's never a season that was just but it was, they've done all they could really do with the show.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a good time to end it. So they had an episode that featured a crossover between Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I knew that because I watched all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine once, and I seen that episode in there. So I was waiting for that episode to happen in New Girl, and it does happen, and it was very enjoyable seeing the cast from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now that I've wrapped that show, seeing them again just in this aspect of New Girl, it made me really happy to see them. I think I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine more than I like New Girl. I thought that was a better show. With the characters I liked a lot more. But no, I enjoyed New Girl. I thought that Zoe Deschanel was really good as Jessica Day. Uh, I like Nick and Schmidt. Schmidt's my favorite character, and then Winston was good. The guy Damon Wayans Jr. played Coach on the initial episode, on the pilot episode, but at the same time, he got cast in Happy Endings, and so he had to go and do Happy Endings. So after the pilot episode, they introduced Winston, and Winston came in and kind of filled that void, but they didn't rewrite him as Coach. They just made him a separate character, and later on, Coach came back, and so you had that dynamic with them both being on the show as well. Um, but yeah, I thought it was all in all a really good show. And it leaves Netflix on April 7th. So I doubt if anybody's gonna binge watch it. I thought it was a good show.
Hmm. Anything else?
I seen the first episode of Swarm, which is it's done by Donald Glover. I didn't know that. So, but it felt like Donald Glover before I even knew that. It felt like something like Atlanta, and so uh, it it's more of a horror, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it just yet. I have to keep watching. Anything else I watched?
And Aaron just disappeared. But he's coming back. He's coming back. There he is.
Yeah, I forgot about it. If I seen anything, I don't remember it. Anything you watched, Brandon?
Just one thing. 65. The Adam Driver uh, film with a few dinosaurs in it. Uh, um, to me, honestly, it reminded me of Planet of the Apes a little bit. He crash lands on this planet. It's ran by dinosaurs 65 billion years ago, million years ago. You know
Mhm.
what? I was like, I wanted more of the dinosaur action, and it's more of Adam Driver trying to figure out how to get out of there with this little girl he finds. And when we get to dinosaurs, it's cool. It's just nice to see dinosaurs outside of the Jurassic Park films on the big stage like this. So when you got it, I loved it, but it wasn't enough. Like it felt like they marketed it as a dinosaur movie when it really wasn't. So
Yeah, I've heard that. I kind of heard that it looks like it's not really gained love at all.
no, it was okay, but yeah, it's nothing you should go see in theaters. Like it feels like a streaming film.
Yeah, it might be maybe have been more successful if it streamed. I guess. I haven't seen did John Wick come out yet?
Came out today, I think.
Okay. I like to see that. I'm not sure. As far as Creed, I'm gonna wait for it to stream. I'm not gonna see it in theaters. Same with Quantum Mania. Um, it's
Just,
just
just gonna wait for Disney.
yeah, just wait for
Which
Disney.
I think Shazam was the better movie. Actually, I think DC's last two movies been better than the past 5 or 6 Marvel movies. So,
I agree. I would agree with that.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think Marvel has lost its footing, and I don't know how they're gonna get it back. Gain traction. I think it's over. I think people is kind of over the whole superhero thing. Uh, honestly, but I
the
don't
only thing
see it
I'm oh,
lasting too long or too much longer.
only thing I'm looking forward to really is the Spider-Man films. So back to
Okay.
where it originally started for me, Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
that's really all I really care about these days.
Well, with that being said, anything else before we jump into Chosen?
No, no, I don't have anything.
All right. So we are talking about Chosen season one. Uh, like I said, it's a show that was created by Dallas Jenkins, um, and written by Dallas Jenkins. It stars uh, as Simon Peter, Shahar Isaac, and I'm just gonna name a couple of them. The main ones I noticed that stands out to me. Jonathan Rumi, I think it's how you say his name is Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth. You have Paras Patel as Matthew. I love Matthew. He's like one of my favorite people. And then Elizabeth Tabish as Mary Magdalene. And then there's other people that's in the film or in the show as well. But Yeah. So Brandon, I
Yeah,
know. Let's see. We got a
uh,
comment.
I wouldn't.
Oh, it's spam. All right, so we're not gonna post that. Um. Anyway. Uh. So the first, in my opinion, just going back and watching this, it's slow getting into it.
Yeah.
First two episodes, I think. First episode ends like it. The first episode, Jesus doesn't show up until the last maybe 5 minutes, which which is cool because it kind of tells shows other people's journey and what they're going through in life
Yeah.
before he kind of encountered them. And what do you think about Mary Magdalene in this first episode?
Mm,
Are you familiar with Mary Magdalene at all?
yeah. I'm familiar. I would say I'm not as familiar though. Like I know how he helped her and all, but like I wasn't as familiar with the whole demons, aspect to it. Uh,
Hmm.
it was. I felt that was probably the most realistic, like exorcism from Nicodemus. Uh, ever on screen, really, like realistically. They're not trying to Hollywood it up. So he didn't know what to do. He felt he couldn't save her. Only God could. And as far as her, man, that's rough. To feel like you have demons in you. Not only feel like you do, but you do. Man, that's rough. I can understand her situation where she wanted to basically jump off that cliff, and end it. She felt she had no way out. So it hit some places deep for me as well. So because I've been
Yeah,
there, but I don't know. It just hit. Like I was very impressed. The storytelling. It's
it,
long term storytelling. So I was very
yeah.
impressed with it from that angle.
Um, I did want to mention you brought up Nicodemus. Eric Avari as Nicodemus is great casting. I felt him very being very sympathetic and a true Israelite. He was like a true believer and look forward to like the coming of the Messiah and just the way that he saw Scripture and saw um, things. Like he wasn't like a guy that had like a lot of like malice or anything. Not saying he wasn't a sinner at all, because we're all sinners and fall short. But I felt that Nicodemus, especially Eric Avari's interpretation of Nicodemus, was well done.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I really enjoyed him. I felt for him for certain scenes we'll talk about. But I really felt for him. So
Yeah, I did too. I mean, especially towards the end, like especially that last episode. I mean, but well, I know we'll get there. But yeah, I felt for him. He was just seeking the truth from the moment he met John the Baptist and
mhm,
forward. He was just seeking the who is this Jesus of Nazareth? Who is this preacher that's apparently able to heal people? Uh, I can understand it though from I don't want to say an unbelievers because I'm not an unbeliever, but something you don't understand comes in, you automatically want to rebuke it and all that. So it's hard to accept things you do not
yeah,
understand.
yeah. So this first episode is I have called you by name, and it's about two brothers struggle with a Jewish tax collector, which is Matthew, which is the one who penned the Gospel of Matthew,
Yeah,
in the Synoptic Gospels. Um, is the two brothers struggle with Jewish tax collector Matthew over their debts to Rome. A Pharisee confronts a demon possessed woman in the red quarters of Capernaum. So that's kind of the uh, synopsis of it. I want to mention when we talk about Matthew, I want to also mention uh, is his name Gaius, the Roman centurion, uh, who's of Germanic descent, actually, because they mentioned that. Uh, which even then, yeah, just it's multi-layered, man.
It
Because
is.
Jews were considered second-class citizens, um, to Romans. Like they were like considered like dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have this Roman centurion. I want to say his name is I want to say his name's Gaius. I don't want to be wrong. Uh, I'm trying to pull him up, but I'm not seeing him. But anyway, you have this Roman centurion, uh, yeah, Gaius. I was right. Yeah. Um, who uh, is Germanic, meaning of Germanic descent. Uh, and so even then, like the Quintus, the Dominus, the the
Yeah.
guy that the bald head the bald head Billy Zane type of dude. Guess
Billy Zane, huh?
he's giving me Billy Zane vibes. Like if this was done like in the '90s, Billy Zane would have totally been cast for that part, and would have killed it. And I'm not dissing Billy Zane. Billy Zane, like this guy gave me Billy Zane vibes, which was it's a I'm giving him props because that's who he reminded me of. I don't know if it was on purpose, but that's who I seen every time he came on screen. But yeah, but he dissed Gaius. He just pretty much said that your family uh rode over and took it.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we chose the winning side. He says, of course you did. But yeah, so even he has get disrespect. But what were your thoughts on the relationship between Matthew and Gaius?
Um, at first, I thought it was a lot of friction, but as it went on, you could tell that he cared for Matthew, to a point I was even shocked to see. I mean, why would you care about this tax collector who everyone hates? You know everyone. I mean, he is the most hated character in this show, and I didn't like him at first either. It's like he just came off, I don't know, odd. Um,
Hmm.
but as it went on, I was kind of like this character, Gaius, you said,
Gaius,
right?
yeah.
I was kind of like him. I kind of had a soft spot for him by the end of it. So, and I look forward to more of his story in season two.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just, he was just an oddball, man, compared to everyone else. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought Matthew, when I thought about Matthew, I thought that he probably had some type of OCD. He's probably some type
Yeah,
of autistic. It wasn't. It couldn't. Obviously at that time they couldn't probably document. They didn't know about that stuff. But that's like I got that from him, like him wiping off things, and he doesn't want to get dirty, and just he's really good with numbers. He's very like Rain Man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, and Gaius, it's like Gaius kind of like takes sympathy. There's one scene in one of the episodes where he's like, when they was trying to see what's going on with the commotion in the East quarters, which like Jesus, that's with the paralytic guy. But Gaius was like, "We'll close up shop and go home." He's like, "No, I'm going to come with you." He's like, there's a commotion. I can't protect you." He says, uh, "How do you think you? How do you? I survived the other
yeah.
6 hours of the day or whatever." And he says, "Yeah, and that surprised me. I don't know how you survive." He's like, "I don't know how you survive," which is true. Like you like how does this guy survive? But um, but yeah, you're right. Matthew was so hated, man, and that's the thing that I got from this, especially in this first episode, when it comes to Mary Magdalene. Lilith is what they called her in her demonic form when she was a woman of the streets,
Yeah.
and things like that. Lilith, but Jesus called her by her name. hence the name of the episode. He saw her, and she kept trying to hide her face in shame, like, I don't want you to see me. But he's like, no, I know you, I see you, you know. And so it's just it's a very touching episode. I kind of got a little teared up a little bit when I was watching it.
Well, I think
But yeah.
that's the whole theme of the show, though. The people he chose weren't the righteous people; they were the sinners, people that thought they had no business being chosen, which is really and truly all of us. You know what I mean? Because we're all sinners, no matter what we do. I mean, we sin every day, but uh, I love that aspect though, and that's also another aspect that the rabbis wouldn't understand is why are you choosing sinners over us? We're your
Mhm.
people, and I love that because he saw something in them, you know,
Yeah.
that other people couldn't see, which is also a theme about him, you know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unbelievers can't see it, and it's just a shame.
Hey,
Like,
you know what? And I just thought about this, and I didn't want to cut you off, but go ahead, and I will
no,
say
go
what I'm going
ahead,
to say.
go ahead.
I was going to say, and I just thought about this. When it comes to Nicodemus and Mary, um, how Nicodemus failed in casting out the demons, you could feel when he failed how bad he felt that he failed.
Yeah,
It wasn't like, oh, whatever, it's whatever, that ain't my problem. You didn't get that vibe from Nicodemus. It's like, only God can fix her, and he hopes that only God will fix her. But you know, it's just brilliant. Did we meet? Did we meet? So we did meet Simon and his brother, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
this episode.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Simon's all over the whole show. I mean, he's
he's
almost
the
kind of the main character in a
he
sense.
is he's the first. So whenever they show the characters' names that's in the show, he's the top build
Yeah,
actually. So uh, and it's fitting because Simon is Simon's us, man. We're all Simon Peter. We're the guy that is rough around the edges, who try things our own way,
yeah,
um, get put our foot in our mouth.
yeah.
We just you know we fall short, but and
Don't want to ask
but
for help.
don't
Try
want
to
to
do
ask
it.
for help.
Yeah,
But that's us. And then like
yeah.
and also he drags his little brother Andrew into it. Uh, and Andrew, he loves his brother.
Hmm.
The love that they have for one another is just an amazing thing. And I love that the show features the marriage of Peter and his wife, and to show the complexity of being a believer and a follower of Jesus and yet being married and dealing with that. I thought the show does an excellent job with that, show that conflict. Like, how does a spouse, deal with the fact that the Messiah has chosen your husband to do some hard things and go and follow? And Jesus told her in one episode, you know, this is your mission too. Like, you're in this too. Y'all are one flesh, so this is you are sacrificing like he's sacrificing. You
Oh,
know.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's just nothing but the truth right there. I mean, you're both sacrificing. You gotta sacrifice. I mean, like he's never promised it would be easy. It's gonna be a struggle. I mean, it's the way of the life. It's of a believer. It's a struggle. It's not easy. It's easy on the other side when you get to the kingdom. Not here though. It's not
Yeah.
here. Definitely not here. Oh man, it's
Anything you want to mention again on this episode?
um. Well, just the ending. I really liked how she was at her breaking point, and he just tapped. I think I don't know if he tapped on her or just he touched her hand.
Yeah. She asked for she asked the barkeeper for drink. Give me
Yeah.
wine. Give me the drink. And he says, you don't. It's not going to help your problem. And I give him credit too. He's like, I don't want to give you this. It's not going to help you. You're broken. It's not going to help what's broken for you. And she says, please, just please, like for her, she's going to stop the voices or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she goes to drink it, and Jesus puts his hand on her. And that's how it's revealed. That's how he's revealed is by putting his hand on her, on her hand, and saying, "That's not for you." Uh, you know, and that's not for you. It's not gonna help you. And then she's like, "No, leave me alone." Then she leaves and takes it with her and is walking out, and he
Yeah.
follows behind her. And instead of calling her Lilith, he calls her Mary, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Magdalene. Um, and and he sees, to me, what that comes, what that says for me is that Jesus saw her, not
Hmm.
not her sexuality, not her sin, not her dirtiness and ugliness, or you know or
Yeah.
the, he's seen her, and cast out the demons that plagued her, and changed her, completely changed her. And she later says that in another episode, like, I was one way and I encountered him, and now I'm a totally different way. And so that's what he does for us. When you encounter Jesus, he literally changes you. You are a new creature. And so
Yeah. Absolutely. But I don't know. I really, I guess this was like in episode 2. You find
hmm
out that Simon is working with the Romans, and he tries to get the other people to help, and they refuse to help him. They feel like he's betrayed them, and I really like that episode too. The story arc with Simon, because he's caught in, he's in a very bad place. He really is. He's just,
yeah,
oh man, he's trapped. He doesn't know what to do. He feels like he's gonna lose everything.
yeah,
So he basically signs a deal with the devil in a sense with the Romans, and I don't know, it was just I felt for him. I felt for him. I think the most through the whole
hmm
show. Just well until he gets with Jesus and all that, which is that episode I do believe towards the end.
yeah. Well, no, I
Which
think
is
that that is, yeah. I think no, that's the fourth episode that he
that the
actually
fourth
gets
one?
with him. Yeah, in the second episode. So this is what the synopsis on IMDb says. Matthew validates Simon's arrangement with the praetor Quintus. Nicodemus investigates the miracle reported in the Red Quarter, so that's in Mary Magdalene. And also, Mary receives surprise guests at her Shabbat dinner. And so that was the episode dealing with the Shabbat, which is Shabbat is the Sabbath. So it's a Sabbath dinner. So from Friday to Sunday, essentially, uh, the Jews celebrated Shabbat, or the Sabbath, and so, but part of it is the Shabbat dinner, and so they're prepared so that they can eat the feast during Shabbat, but so they're just eating it. They're not actually working. They're taking
Yeah,
a rest and they're working. But Mary, what you saw with Mary is that she isn't accustomed to this because she had the Elijah seat for Elijah, which is done on for the Passover, not so much
yeah,
for the Shabbat. And so, but she didn't know, and but she's trying, and and what I loved about all this. Let's get to what you said about Peter, or Simon. He he thinks he can fix everything on his own, as you said before, and but all he's doing is making things worse,
yeah,
and he's like pretty much thinking that he can forego doing the Sabbath, not do the Sabbath, so that he could uh, get all the fish, essentially, like cheating. And that's
yeah,
what he's doing. He's going to work on the Sabbath. and he's also leaving his wife at home. Um, it's just like he's Peter is not thinking. He's
Well, I mean,
and he's dragging everybody down with him. Actually, like you said,
yeah, yeah, I can relate. Just being real. You think you can fix it on your own, and you can't, and things get worse and worse and worse, and
uh,
you're at a bottomless pit, and the only way you can go up is with Jesus, which is what essentially does happen. He saves him.
yeah, we're gonna get there. But in this episode, uh, so the only thing Nicodemus is they he hears that Mary's healed because one of the other Pharisees that's with him in the red quarter saw Mary and seen that she was healed, and so they're now investigating who healed her, how she healed, how she
Yeah,
changed. Is it something that I did? Is it something that someone else did? And
yeah,
so, but and I love the dinner stuff with Mary because you had essentially people that wouldn't have been invited to other people's dinners, Sabbath dinners, uh, in a place with the one that everybody should be with at dinner, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So you have the blind man, the blind woman, and the guy. I love him. I love that guy. Um, he's just like just I don't know. He's just a talker. He's just like a jokester. Because he
yeah.
said he mentions he says, "I guess something good can come from Nazareth." And it's just like yeah, just I love. Let me ask you this real quick while we're talking. I don't want to skim over this. What's your thoughts on Jonathan Roomie's portrayal of Jesus?
It's funny you should ask, because my first time seeing him was obviously in Jesus Revolution, and I think it was Kelsey Grammer said, "You look like Jesus." I'm not sure if it was Kelsey. It was somebody in that church that said it. It says, "Well, if I'm living the life of Jesus, I want to look like him too, And I know it was a joke based on this, obviously because he
Mhm.
plays Jesus, but I thought he was so good in that. But in this, I believe it, like, more so than anyone I've ever seen. And I always kind of put Jim Caviezel up there with Passion of the Christ, because I thought he was excellent in that role playing Jesus. But I like this guy better. I really do. And I want to see more of him. Like, whatever he does, I want to see it, because he is a tremendous actor.
Yeah, he's very authentic, man. Very authentic.
Yes.
Uh, and yeah, just and I love who like him. That's where I want to get to. Is it okay if we go ahead and move to the next episode?
Yeah.
All right, because that's one of my favorite episodes. It's called Jesus Loves the Little Children. Um, and it's just the sweetest episode. Jesus befriends and teaches a group of children who discovers his camp on the outskirts of Capernaum. And so I love just his interaction with these kids. Uh, the main little girl that pops up, I'm trying to remember her name. Abigail? Yeah, Abigail. And then you have uh, Joshua the Brave, he calls him.
Yeah.
Joshua the Brave, and the other kids. But I love how her innocence, her childlike innocence, she just is playing. She comes across Jesus' camp and starts playing with her doll, like like a little kid would do. My little grandkid would, do stuff like that. And and she doesn't. She sees Jesus and she runs and but she sees she's gonna take food, but she doesn't take the food. She
Yeah.
thought better about it. She's like, no, it's not mine. I can't take it. You know. And so, but she sees Jesus and she runs away and gathers her friend Joshua to come back with her. And I love how Jesus kind of introduces himself to them by
Yeah.
like making like noises, And at first you're like, what are you doing? But it's like we would do that to kind of loosen up the tension between like kids, like your son or my
Yeah.
grandkids, you want to just get them just relaxed. And I love that.
Yeah, it was a very good moment. As you said, sweet. Maybe the sweetest moment in the whole show. It's very sweet and tender. It's just like I said, the way he plays him, you want to follow him. Like, and I was thinking while watching this, can you imagine living in this time when he's walking the earth and getting these followers, and
Mhm.
you just want to follow him. No questions asked. You see what he does, how he talks. He's he very much knows what he's talking about. You feel it. It's the truth. You can feel it. You can see it. And again, I don't understand why these unbelievers can't see that. But
And the also the authority in which
yeah,
he says these things, that, like you said, that it's coming from a place of authority,
yeah,
and
but
that he's, like you said, it is right.
it's not preachy though. It's not preachy. He just I don't know. It's almost like he talks to these people as if they're children, his children.
Hmm. Yeah.
So as like I said, it's he's just a sweet man all the way through the show that you just want to follow.
Uh, and I love how, like, the kids, when they're talking among themselves, and they are, no, ma'am, no, 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 that'd be later. Put that up. Um, talking about, no, ma'am, put that up. Um, talk about little kids, right? Uh, but I love how, like, they're talking. They're like, maybe he's a murderer, maybe he's this, maybe he's that. But and Abigail's like, no, he's not. He's not. He's not that. He's good. You know, I love how they highlight. Like, I love how she kind of lets them know. No, like, they believe her, and
Yeah.
it's and she's and another thing about her is she's not even in temple. Like, she's not in school to learn. Like women at that time, girls could not learn the Torah. They couldn't go to school to learn these things, but like Joshua can and the other boys can. But as you can notice, whenever Jesus asked them questions, she's the first one with her hand up
Mhm.
answering questions because she knows, and it just makes you feel good that that they are the exact same people that Jesus came to save. You know what I'm saying? To
Mhm.
came to to make the way for, and he reveals himself to them. Essentially, uh, and they, I love it. So, but yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on that episode.
I love that episode. You know, like I said, you just wanted to follow him. I love the whole the chemistry between him and the children. No, I was just because it's a gift, and he was the most gifted man that ever walked the earth. So, you know,
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I just thought it was a sweet and tender episode.
Yeah, and he in this episode, uh, chronologically takes place. So this is what's happening in this episode. This is what's happening while Mary is going through what she's going through. Because at one point
Yeah.
Jesus says, because they said, "Where were you yesterday?" And he says, "I had to stay in town because a girl, a friend of mine, a lady needed my help." And so that's when he encountered Mary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
so I don't mind that it's out of order either, because it's just like just showing different aspects of what's happening uh, with him throughout the region in which he's traveling. But yeah, the episode that you talk about, which I think sounds like was one of your favorite episodes, is episode 4, "The Rock on which it is built," which is with his life and family under threat from Rome. Simon spends one last night fishing in a desperate attempt to square his debts. Andrew spots a familiar face waiting for them on the shores of Galilee. So this whole episode Jesus doesn't appear until like the tail end, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, he
And
appears in the next morning when they didn't catch anything. Um, and he's like, I got to face the music now. And then he sees Jesus. His brother sees Jesus. That's the man I'm talking about, because he was telling him earlier about him, and he just kind of brushed it off like nonsense. Um, and he had no time for Jesus when he got up to him, and it's like he was like, just hold on for a minute. I wanna do something for you, And he's like, who is this guy? What's he want from me? My
yeah,
life is completely a wreck right now. I don't have time for this. I love that whole I love everything about it though. He finally does listen, and he says, "Put your nets back in the water," and they do, and a whole like most fish I've ever seen come into a net ever. Like it's
yeah. And then he had to call others to come and help, which is
yeah,
in the scriptures as well. In the scriptures, they pushed out a little further in the sea, and it happened. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I thought it was great, man. And and also like I love that Matthew was there and he witnessed it as well.
yeah,
And he and that's what because he can't explain it.
no,
No one can explain it. Explain it like Jesus says, "Cast your nets." And hey, Bilfer, how you doing, buddy?
hello,
But yeah, and so I love that I love how that happened, man. I thought that was really excellent. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
I, yeah. I was thinking like he thought it was impossible. I actually think he said it was impossible. It's like it's like he couldn't comprehend what he saw.
mhm,
He wanted to believe, but he couldn't believe. And that's the thing. Even some people, even if you see it, you don't believe it.
this
It's
is true.
but yeah, I love that episode though. I loved everything about it. And I also loved how Simon Peter, he changed. So, well, he didn't change right then, but he started to change. The more he was around Jesus, he started to change.
I loved how Simon was like, "Hey, why don't you do that a couple of hundred more times, and we
Yeah,
can, you know." And then like he's like, "No," and then that's when he told him, "Hey, man, I'm gonna make you a fisher of men," you know. And he's like, I don't know what that even means, but okay, you know." And the thing about it, like at that time, he wouldn't know what that meant. Like, what does that mean to be a fisher of men? And so, I love how with also you see how they didn't know how what parts they was going to play in everything.
yeah,
Peter thought that it was his job to be the protector, be
yeah.
the guard and stuff. Like he was like, let me check and make sure the perimeter's right. Let me make sure that nobody's coming in on you and stuff. But that's not the work that Jesus had for him to do. Uh, you know. But yeah, I love that episode. Now I guess we can move to unless anything else you want to say about the episode.
No, no, no. I mean, I did love when they. I don't know if it was that episode or not. When Jesus met his wife. I love that episode.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that happened in the next episode, the wedding gift.
yeah,
Uh,
I was
that's
thinking it
the
did,
yeah.
but I
See,
like that
that's what
episode too. I mean,
yeah, yeah. Nicodemus interrogates John the Baptist, John the Baptizer, while Jesus and the students make their way to a wedding celebration in Cana. During the ceremony, Jesus' mother Mary makes a special request. One thing that uh, the Bible, one of the like in John, I think it mentions that when Jesus and all of his disciples left, his brothers left with him. So his brothers was there. The show at this scene didn't talk about his brothers, um, and but that is brought up later on in a later season. Um, but what was your thoughts on that? And plus, we get to meet another disciple of Thomas, Didymus. Uh, what was your thoughts on that? that episode, the wedding gift.
I like the wedding episode. I was more fascinated with his brother's wife's dad. Uh, he just seemed like he was against. I don't want to say again. He just didn't feel like he was good enough for his daughter. I
Hmm.
guess. Uh, but how he quickly changed, and also his episode of Jesus turned the water into wine, which it was Thomas, right? Who it's
Yeah,
like it's like this is ridiculous. Why are we
yeah.
filling these up with water?
You've heard of the term Doubting Thomas. Well,
Yeah,
that's who it is. It comes from him because Thomas is the guy that, like, and Jesus says this. He says, "I know a guy in Capernaum just like you, who's really good with numbers and counts everything." He's talking about Matthew before he even met Matthew. Uh, but yeah, so Thomas is very much like Matthew, but not as quirky as Matthew. But he wants to do the math. He wants to make sure everything's good. Make sure, they asked
yeah,
for only 3 containers of wine. We should bring like 2 more.
yeah,
That's just Thomas. Thomas is like, let's make sure everything is accounted for. Um, and but yeah, but I love that. One thing that I loved about this episode is uh Jesus and Andrew, like the joke that Andrew
hmm
has 4 legs or four
yeah.
feet or something like that, and they can't dance. And then like Jesus, they said, Jesus, can you do anything about that? He says, there's some things that even I can't do.
Yeah,
you know, I love Jonathan's humor as Jesus. I love that aspect too. By the way.
yeah, yeah. He's got so many levels, to him as Jesus. It's really unreal how really amazing he was, and I don't know if he got nominated for anything. He should have, but I could say a lot of people in this show should have got nominated for something. It's a lot of good work here, all the way around. It's like I know you talked it up a bit. I have a friend. She talked it up when it came out. I was like, I'll watch it at some point. 'Cause I just didn't think it was gonna be all that great. It's a TV show. How good can it really be? And I know I shouldn't say stuff like that, but that's just kind of how I just shrugged it off. Kind of like
Yeah.
Simon Peter,
Yeah.
just
Well,
shrugging
yeah.
stuff off. But yeah, I was
And
blown
later
away.
on, later on, Nathaniel's that way too, because he says, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" So he's like, "It's like, can
Yeah.
anything good come from like a TV show? How good could it
Well, I
be?"
mean,
That's you.
a Christian TV show. I guess I'm like you when it comes to TV, like because I don't think I've even seen a TV show. Maybe the Bible. I watched a couple episodes of that. I
Hmm.
just couldn't really get into it, so kind of stopped. But this was mind blowing. I'm actually planning to buy this for my dad. The first 2 seasons on
Oh,
DVD.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think he would get a real kick out of it and really enjoy it. He's always looking for
Yeah,
new stuff to watch. So
yeah, that'd be great. That's a great idea, actually. I know I think my father. It's the same thing, bro. I think my father would love it. I don't think he has a DVD player though, but I know that my father will enjoy it. Just a different like take on uh Jesus,
yeah,
But yeah, I love the water and the wine stuff. If you think about the actual act itself, is that Jesus was able to make wine. It takes grapes, vine fruit or whatever, and you gotta smush it, and it's gotta take time to ferment. It takes time to become wine. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a while for it to happen. Jesus literally created wine out of nothing, ex nihilo, out of nothing but water. He transformed the elements of water into wine.
yeah,
That's an insane thing to even wrap your mind around. And so, and I loved how even Thomas was like, I don't know why we're filling this up, man. I don't know why we're filling these water up. It's just not a. He's like, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but Jesus is like, I know what's going to happen. But yeah, and it made the people of the house look good. You say, hey, man, the other people serve like the good wine uh, first, and then when everybody's drunk, they serve the bad wine, but they serve the best wine last. You know.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really good. I mean, every episode's good for its own merit, but I really enjoyed this one as well. Uh, I don't know. It's just it felt like each episode was like a chapter.
Hmm.
It's like a chapter, and I was really enjoying the chapters. And I hated that it ended. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like I was gonna want to continue. I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't feel like I was gonna want to continue, but I do. I actually do
Yeah.
want to continue.
Let me ask you this: uh was it after the first two episodes that it kind of picked up for you, or when did it kind of pick up for you?
Uh, I mean, I was interested in the first episode. I mean, it was a little slow burn, but I feel like once Jesus showed up, I was invested completely. You know, and once he was like a full on character throughout the show, I mean, I was really there. But
Hmm.
I think I was into it from the get go, though. I don't mind slow burns as long as they eventually get to a point.
Hmm.
Like it's not like the last 10, 15 minutes of a movie, so to speak. So it took
Yeah.
about 15 minutes to get to while we're there over like an 8-hour show. So that's not bad.
Yeah. Man, one of my favorite episodes is actually the next episode, which is it's it's called Indescribable Compassion. After witnessing the healing of a leper on the road to Capernaum, the friend of a paralytic takes desperate measures to get him through the crowd to meet Jesus.
Yeah, that was
And then it's a yeah, like I love how we started with the. I think we started with the leper,
yeah,
and this and he's like, man, these aren't the stolen tools. I'm literally giving you my what I work with. These are the last thing I have is my tools, but I'm dead desperate to sell these to get money to live, to do, and so uh, and he's marked as unclean, and people says unclean, unclean when they see him, and you got to stay back because you can make them consider making them dirty, uh, and uh, and I love how first thing when Jesus encountered the Ethiopian woman, uh, Tamar. I love how Jesus starts speaking Egyptian to her, and because it calls back his early life in Egypt. Um, but I love how he just was that personal with her, and connected with her, and that she was there to witness Jesus show compassion to this leper and embraced, like he did stuff that would have made him unclean. But the thing about Jesus is he cannot become unclean.
yeah,
He actually makes things that are unclean clean. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And so it's an amazing thing where he like I love like I kind of got teared up there too when he embraced the leper. And the leper is like, please don't turn away from me. Don't turn away from me.
yeah,
And he's like, I won't. I'm not going to turn away from you. I see you. I wouldn't do that to you. And so, it just man. But yeah, let's talk about this. What else you liked about that episode?
Oh, I love how the streets were filled when he was just talking, and you know the Romans were there, the Pharisees were there.
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew was there. He wanted to get a good seat, so he got on top of the roof
And I
with
noticed what you said with the kids, with Abigail and Joshua the Brave. But I noticed what you said real quick, and you can continue. Uh, I noticed right then you said that Matthew's treated bad by everyone. You notice people spitting on him?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he thought he was getting stoned. I do believe when they were throwing grapes at him, trying to get his attention to come up, because that was the first time someone wasn't judging him. They was like, "Come on up here, watch," And I, I don't feel like he ever felt like he was invited to anything. He's
Hmm.
always been an outcast, and you know, I think all of us Christians, truly Christians, have always felt like that, like we're an outcast, never belonged, and I know I can
Hmm.
say that for myself. Um, and if I can say one thing about this show before really diving into this episode, it's like I finally found the show for me that really says who I
Spoke.
am. Yeah, yeah. But what I really loved about this episode was that this woman was so desperate for, I don't know if it was her friend or what. He was paralyzed, for
Mhm.
Jesus to heal him, to see if he's the real deal. So they tore down the roof to make a way for him to come in that room, and I just loved everything about everything. So much was going on at that time.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a lot of stuff. You have Nicodemus coming to see. You have Shamil, who is like a Pharisee, but he doesn't believe. He's not a believer. Then you have the other guy that might be sensitive because he's standing with Shamil, but but it looks like he kind of believes. He's starting to believe. And then you have, like you said, you have uh, Peter. Simon was kind of standing like, man, we got to clear these people out of here.
yeah,
Finally, Andrew said, look, brother, just maybe you need to be a fisher of men. Maybe you already know what it means. And so he started going, instead of telling them to leave, he started saying, this is Jesus of Nazareth. This is Jesus of Nazareth. This is Jesus of Nazareth. To people, I love how he went to the little kids and said, and they said, we know it's Jesus of Nazareth. We know him.
yeah,
We knew him before you, essentially. And so I love that, man. And I love also how Matthew, when they stand on the roof and lower him down, the guy, I loved how Matthew started eating the grapes. At first he was like, no. But then he's like, start eating them, like paying, like not even paying attention, just like watching a movie. I
yeah,
love that. That's like my favorite little thing is him just eating grapes, like and not even thinking about anything anymore but what's going on. And then like Peter told him, he says, well, since you're gonna eat here, might as well write on your tablet.
yeah.
You
So, I love that whole everything that's going on. I really loved it. And you said the one that didn't believe, who later on was saying he was a false prophet. I think
yeah, Shamil.
that came in the season finale. Um,
Hmm.
but I loved how he healed him, and they were trying to get into the room to arrest him. And they cleared out, but what was her name? Mary, yes. She had a
Yeah.
conversation with what's his name? Oh, it just
Oh,
escaped.
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus, yes. He wants to meet him face to face. He doesn't want to cause harm.
Genuinely meet him. Genuinely just
Yes,
meet him.
yeah. And I love that we go into that in the next episode, and the meeting happens. And I love that whole scene of him meeting him, wanting, kneeling down to him, uh,
Hmm.
kissing his hand. I mean, it was a beautiful moment, and I think it's something we'll all want to do. When we
Hey,
do meet
absolutely.
him.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I liked about this episode too is when Jesus said to, uh, like he says to the paralytic, to the paralyzed man, your sins have been forgiven.
Yes.
Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, who can forgive sin?" They didn't say it as thinking it. Jesus says, "Who's this that can forgive sin?" Like tell him what he's thinking. Isn't this blasphemy? Blah 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 blah. Where he said, "What is easier to say your sins will be forgiven, or to take up your bed and walk?" You know. And then like he says, "The Son of Man has the authority to forgive sin." And then he says, and then he looked at him. He says, "Take up your bed and walk." And the guy, I love that. camera pulls out, it shows his toe. His toe just does a simple little movement,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's just like first time ever in his life that toe has ever moved.
Yeah.
And not only and not only that, Jesus with the leper with this man, what Jesus is doing is getting rid of their poverty because now these men can work, they can gain money, they can, you know,
Mm-hmm.
have a living. They wasn't able to do that before. Now they can actually do that. He's reversed these things.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such a touching episode. Any way you look at it, I mean, it's a blessing, really. I mean, the whole show's a blessing. But I don't know. It's just to see how where he started, walking by himself, to now all kinds of people are following him, and it's causing the Romans to lose control, and it's just they're at a place where they got to shut him down. Uh,
Mhm.
and which I know what's coming. I don't know if it's coming, but I know we all. If you know
When
anything, you know what's coming.
yeah,
You know Judas is coming, and you know eventually the crucifixion's coming. I don't know if that happens in season 3 or not. I haven't seen it. Obviously, I have no way to watch it. But
I'm not spoiling anything, Brandon. You do have a way of watching it.
do I?
Yeah.
How? It's not on
Uh,
Amazon
it's uh,
or any other streaming
think
service I have.
I check. I'll let you know. You don't have a way of getting the Chosen app, do you? It's free on the Chosen app.
I mean, you can watch it on my tablet.
Okay. Yeah, it's free on that app. Um, but yeah, I'll make sure you watch it. It'll work
Like,
out. You'll be able to see it. Yeah, you're gonna watch it.
I'm
So
gonna watch it.
yeah, but yeah. So this next episode is the invitation. As Matthew struggles to make logical sense of the miracle he has witnessed, Nicodemus' family meets with Jesus in secret. And that's what you was talking about when
Yeah,
Nicodemus uh kissed Jesus' hand and let me kiss the son, and then like for Nicodemus is like he just has so many questions he just wants to
yeah,
ask. The joy, you can see the joy that's in him. It's like, and it's funny because Nicodemus is older than Jesus, like in this scene, but Nicodemus looks like a little kid
absolutely.
seeing like not Santa Claus. I don't want to say Santa, but seeing like a superhero, seeing somebody that they waited to see their whole life, and Nicodemus did what he's waited to see to have this moment, and Jesus invites him to follow me. Whew, man, oh man, that gets into some stuff later in the next episode, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, what?
it was a heartwarming episode, though. I mean, just with the meeting in general, um, like it. Yeah, you're right. He was like a little kid meeting his childhood hero. You know, which looked like he studied the Word of God his whole life. So
Mhm.
you know, and that is his hero. God,
Yeah,
is his hero, and seeing his son, it's the Messiah, who
yeah,
he's read about, he's coming, So yeah, he would have all kinds of questions about that. You absolutely.
and
I
he's
can
the
only imagine what people thought that lived through that.
yeah, yeah,
You can only imagine.
and and Nicodemus is the teacher of teachers, so he's the guy that
Yeah, he's like
that
really respected.
yeah. But yeah, and also in this episode we get I love when Matthew essentially is at a point where he's questioning everything.
Yeah,
He's not really interacting with Gaius. Gaius is trying to have like a little conversation with him, cheer him up a little bit. Gaius isn't mean at all to Matthew. It's not. It's like you can tell that he really cares for Matthew. Um, but um, he, but Matthew is just like kind of disenfranchised, disenchanted with everything. But it's, but then you have that scene where Jesus is passing through, and he stops and looks at Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Matthew, son of Adolphus or something like that, follow me." You know, and he's like, "Me?" He's like, "Yes." And then, but the other disciples like, "No, what are you doing, Jesus? He's a
Yeah.
tax collector."
Yeah. Especially Simon Peter. I mean, he really didn't want him to come, which I could understand to a point. But I think Jesus even said, "Look where I found you. You know, look what I've done for you. You're
Mhm.
in his position. You know what it's like." And he's like, "Ugh." He didn't want to convert at that moment with Jesus on
Yeah.
Matthew, but he does, you know, because he knows the way and he believes him and he's following him. So yeah, you know, but he really had a problem with it. Like I just thought I thought it was humorous that he had such a big problem with it, and he went through exactly the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah. But I loved it. I love how Matthew literally gave up everything
Yeah,
immediately. He's like, he didn't think twice about it. He's like, "Cool, here, take my key. This is my house. Take my dog." He's like, I, I'm, what a good boy. What a good boy that dog is. But yeah, they, I loved how he was just like, yeah, Jesus says, "Follow me," and that, that kind of parallels with, or juxtaposes with Nicodemus, where Matthew could freely give up everything and follow Jesus. Nicodemus has that desire to do it, but just can't.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was a that was a sad scene, and I recall because I watched it like right before, like an hour before you, the hour before I texted you. Like I was watching it, and it's like he was so close, you know, and
mm,
those words hurt, and you can see
mhm.
Nicodemus crying, and it's shameful, and just like he really wants to, but he just can't.
Yeah, he left the money, but he's like, I just can't, I can't, I can't do it, you know. Uh, and but you could tell. I honestly believe, this is my thoughts. Now I might be wrong, and I pray that I'm not. I pray that one day when I get to heaven, um, that I will see Nicodemus and give him a hug and love him, because I that's what I'm saying. I believe Nicodemus was a believer. It just, at that time, it wasn't his time to follow. Maybe, I don't know, but I believe that Nicodemus was a believer of Jesus.
Yeah,
Um, just that he just he couldn't come. He could come, but he couldn't come. It
he,
just, you can see the hurt in
yeah,
the turmoil. Like it's like wanting to go on a field trip, but you just can't do it.
and I also think this goes with everybody involved in the show, all these characters. Eventually, you have to get yourself out of the way and follow him. And Nicodemus
Hmm.
couldn't get himself out of the way, which a lot of us can't. We struggle getting ourselves out of the way. But comes a
Hmm.
point where you just got to. He's like, just take over. I'll follow you. You lead me wherever. And at that point, he just couldn't do it. But it wasn't his time, as you said, to do it. But
Yeah.
it was a really touching, heartbreaking moment when Jesus, you were so close.
I'm trying to. I don't want. I don't want to. Yeah. I'm trying to turn down my tablet. There we go. We had a comment. Jerry says, "Blessings to you too." Thank you, Jerry. Um, yeah, I wanted to see what he is saying without the feedback. But
Yeah,
next episode, which is the last episode of the season, um, is also a really good episode. It's "I Am He." After a miraculous visit to Simon's house, that's where Jesus heals Simon's mother-in-law. Jesus and his students leave Capernaum while under pressure from religious and Roman authorities Jesus makes a surprise stop at Jacob's well for an important encounter. I love how this episode. Uh, it's not the only episode. We had another episode. I forgot which one it was, where they showed Moses at the very beginning. The cold open was Moses hanging the bronze serpent onto the pole, which is where the hospital gets their little medical sign symbol.
Yeah.
But the it says anyone that looks on it and believes in Adonai shall live. Uh, and 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 that is like, so that's kind of a type of Christ of Jesus, that anyone will look on the Son and have faith will live. And that was a Nicodemus episode. That was a code open for the Nicodemus episode, because he brought that story back up to him, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, he
was or
did.
was that him, or was it someone else?
I think it was him.
Yeah, I forgot what it is. Yeah, they kind of run together, but yeah, but then this one got a code open, and we see Jacob digging the well, trusting God. Jacob says he encountered, and he's talking to the I would say the African, maybe Ethiopian. I don't Cushite, maybe. I'm not sure, but he's talking to the man, and he said to him, like, the man was like, "So you don't have a God that you carry with you. You don't have this. You don't have that. So what do you, you know?" He says, "Well, I encountered him once, and he broke my hip." and, it is where Jacob wrestled the angel of the Lord, which is God. That was God. He wrestled, and he got beat. Uh, but he also got blessed because his name became Israel. But yeah, but he gave him the well. He dug that well on the promise and established the well there. And that same well, years later, then would transpose to this woman, this Samaritan woman, at the well in the hottest part of the day, because she gets harassed and people don't want to see her and be around her, and she's lonely.
Yeah.
But she's got men, but she's lonely. Uh, it's very, it's like about abuse, like sexual abuse as well. So it's very potent episode. Self worth as well. So
Yeah, that was probably one of the very first stories I remember hearing as a child about the woman at the well. And so seeing it, I was like, it was very touching to see and see her emotions. It's like,
yeah,
this guy's crazy, you know. Until just see her like almost like skipping for joy. So I'm gonna tell everybody, you know,
leaving our
and
pots, leaving our pots behind there.
yeah, it was just it was a triumphant scene, and I really dug it. I really dug seeing that on camera, like because you hear about it, but it's different when you hear about it and when you see a visual of it.
Hmm.
And I really like that scene. It's like it was a standout for me throughout the whole show. That particular scene.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I loved how he was like, he told her, he was like, he told her who she was.
Yeah,
Like we all in the scripture it talks about, um, go get your husband, and I tell you both. And then she says, I don't have a husband. He says, you spoken correct, because you have like five husbands.
yeah,
And the one you're with now is not your husband. And then she's like, I see you're a prophet. She tried to change the subject a little bit. And Jesus was like, uh, you know, the time was coming where true worship will happen in spirit and in truth. It doesn't matter if you worship in the temple, on the mountaintop, in the temple. Worship is going to start inwardly, and we are there now with the Holy Spirit indwelling us. That worship springs forth from us, and so yeah, I love that. At the end of it, she was so the joy that she had
yeah,
was amazing. I loved it. I loved how she was like, this must be the Christ. He told me everything about me.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. It was very. It was like it was a really touching scene. Uh, was a feel good episode for the most part. Uh, until we get to like Nicodemus and I can't think of his name. The one that's really coming
Shamil.
against him. Yeah, Shamil. Okay. The one that's really
Yeah.
coming against him and then thinks he's a false prophet.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I expected Nicodemus in the moment to, reject that theory because he knows he's not, but he says he won't.
Mm. Yeah.
And I guess in a way he's kind of protecting himself because it feels like
Mm.
Shamil's like coming after him too. It's like he's lost
Yeah.
respect for him. But
Yeah. And so, yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think that Shamil's testing Nicodemus to see, are you with me or are you going to be against me? Because if you're against me, then I'm going to be against you, and I'm going to, you know, throw you under the bus with everything.
yeah,
And so, but now I loved how also the disciples were, even Matthew was like, but we don't go through Samaria. We don't deal with them because they destroyed this and they did this and they did that, And he's like, none of y'all was alive for that.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with y'all, and that's how it should be with us today with a lot of things. Which we should, not saying move past things because some things are hard to move past, but I'm saying that we should, you know, God, Jesus says, I got to go through Samaria. And he went there for her. That's the
hmm
reason why he had to go to Samaria, because to meet her. It was no coincidence that he was there at that well waiting on her. You know, um, he, you know, God, when God, when God encountered you, that wasn't an accident. He desired to encounter you when he encountered you,
yeah,
you know? And so we gotta sometimes get out of our comfort zone and get ready to, you know, encounter people that might not look like us, might not think like us, might not came from the same economic background as us, or race, or you know, ethnic background from us. Not race, because we're all, it's just one human race, but ethnic background from us. But we should desire to um, love and feed his sheep. To
yeah.
be fishers. He's going to sort them out. That's what he said. I sort them out. You gather. I'll sort them out.
That's what he does. No doubt, no doubt. That's what he does.
Are you ready to give your marks or anything else you want to mention?
No, I think we covered pretty much all of it.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to
So
go
much for a
ahead.
short episode, Aaron.
I'm sorry, buddy. But yeah, we dove into it. But I'm going to give the show 5 stars out of 5, 5 markets out of 5, rather. I thought that it's a great show. Uh, I thought that they cast it, everybody, they cast it well. Jonathan Rumi is the standout as Jesus. Shahar Isaac is standout as Simon. And then I think Mary Magdalene stands out to me as well. She really is someone that I really enjoy seeing.
Yeah,
And then like everybody. Now the other disciples, at this point we hadn't really got to really gather and know them as well, like
yeah,
John and Big James and Little James, and others. But yeah, um, but I love the show, man. 5 markouts for me.
yeah. I thought for the people it focused on, it knocked it out of the park. Matthew was a standout. And I knew they were going in that direction. I just, when you first meet him, you don't really like him. You just something, it's just not right. But as it went on, you kind of have a soft spot for him. And I said that about Simon Peter. Obviously, Jesus, you have a soft spot for him for obvious reasons. But he was so good in the role, though. He really was. But yeah, I give it a 5 out of 5 on the markout meter, easily. I didn't think I would, but I do. 5 out of 5.
All right. So next week it's your choice. What are we choosing?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna. I wasn't going to, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick Chosen season 2.
Yes. That's what we doing, buddy. Yes. All right. That's awesome. Because
Yes.
I listen, I ain't gonna lie to you. After watching that season of last season of one, I wanted to watch two immediately, but I was like, I'll wait just in case we're gonna watch it. But yeah, it got me hyped, man. But all right, what do we want the people to do?
Well, if you like today's episode, we would like for you to like, share, and subscribe to the Markout Movie Podcast channel. And
Yep.
if you don't follow us on Facebook, click that like button and share it to get us more likes on there.
And also, if you are interested in watching Chosen, Chosen season one is literally free, pretty much everywhere you think of. YouTube, uh, Prime, um, Netflix. It's like pretty much everywhere. But season two and three for sure you can get on the Chosen app, which is free. But as Brandon might experience, it might not be on every single
It's not on
uh,
the PlayStation
device.
4.
Is anything that says Angel Studios on there?
No, nothing.
Uh, um, but let's see, Chosen. Let's see, season two. It's included with subscription on Prime. It's free on Peacock, free on Angel, uh, and
That's season
some
3.
called. Let's see, season three. It's free only on the Angel Studios app, and then another app called BYUTV. Is that Brigham Young University? That's Mormons. Well, okay, yeah, it's free on that. Maybe you can download that app and then delete it immediately after you watch the episode. Um,
How dare you say such a thing?
I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there. We're not brethren, the Mormons. Well, that's not. We're not the same. But okay, all right. But yeah, it's on this app too. All three seasons actually on this app. Maybe you can look and see if it's on there. Um, no offense to Mormons, but somebody had to tell you. All right.
I
All
think you
right.
done insulted them. After a peaceful episode, you had to say something about another denomination.
Um,
Can't we
but
just all agree to follow Jesus and be done with it?
we should, but we can. That's a different conversation.
It
But
is. I know it
we
is.
thank we thank you for listening. We thank you for watching. Enjoy. Watch season one if you hadn't seen it, and then watch season two and three with us because we're gonna go ahead and knock this out, Brandon. I'm just gonna let you know. Spoilers. I'm choosing season three. All right. So, all right. Well, we thank you. Have a good week and weekend, and love the Lord and thy neighbor. Peace.
Peace.